I'm not a very good car salesman, but I sell cars for a living.
All right, so let's do that one more time.
My name is Grant Edward Ragan. I am 23 years old. I was born in April of 97. I sell cars for a living. And I am born and raised here in Central Florida.
Okay. Tell us about your relationship with your sister.
So my sister was born in 95. She was my older sister. And within the first 2 weeks of me living, she tried to kill me with a cookie.
Okay. Care to elaborate?
So I was crying because I was hungry, and my sister just didn't really understand. Like, oh, baby's crying because he's hungry. So she tried to stuff an Oreo in my mouth. And when I stopped crying and I started choking, my mom got up and was like, what the hell is going on? And she saw my sister just shoving a cookie in my mouth. Before my mom was like, no, you can't do that, Maddie. That'll kill him. He can't eat solid food. He doesn't have any teeth.
Okay, so growing up with Maddie, your relationship was basically a sibling rivalry type thing, I assume, and you got along sometimes and not others. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I actually knocked out Maddie's first tooth. And, her and I were always roughly the same size. Even as adults, we were roughly the same size, both in height and in weight. I was always stronger than her, but I think simply that was just because I played outside a lot more. But as far as the rivalry is concerned, we had our rivalries, but, she had her thing. I had my thing. She was, more into cars and more into doing stuff with mom versus where I was more like fishing and sports. And, my brother and I got into video games pretty early on. So we had our rivalries with certain things. Like we both loved to fish and we would try to outfish each other. And she almost always lost because she was very impatient. But for the most part, we got along fairly well, but we did have our rivalries.
So how much older was Maddie than you?
Maddie was just over 2 years older than me. She was born in July of 95. I was born in April of 97.
And tell us about your family life with your parents and everything.
So my parents have been together since April of 1990. My parents have been together for over 30 years now. And my parents absolutely love each other. Everything was, fun growing up, especially, with my brother having autism. It was a huge blast growing up. I got to do and see a lot of interesting things. And, I was exposed to a lot of stuff relatively young. I was fairly well educated as a child because my mother worked in the medical field. My dad was in the military for a couple of years before I was born. Then he was a sheet metal mechanic. Then he was a truck driver. So I got to see a lot of the country growing up. And I got to learn a lot about, anatomy growing up, which did help my siblings and I in school a lot.
And how about your relationship with Maddie? Did it ever get really bad?
To a point, yeah. Like when she was in the worst of her addiction, we were always worried about her stealing from us. So we would have, we had to buy locks for our doors. We had to, make sure if we ever left the house, if no one was going to be in our room for an extended period of time, that the doors absolutely had to be locked. Otherwise, small stuff would go missing. Like I can't prove it, but I had a $450 snake that just up and went missing one day. And even though snakes don't have high resale value, it's more than enough to get a little baggie if she wanted it. She could easily get $100 for that snake. So, okay. At some points it did get pretty bad.
So let's talk about Maddie for a bit. When did you find out, or when did you figure out that Maddie had a drug problem?
So I knew she was doing pills, but at the age that she's at, it's not really uncommon for people to try certain drugs once or twice. So when I found out she was doing, like Dilaudid and stuff like that, I wasn't too concerned because I had been experimenting with stuff like that too. But it was shortly after she turned like 19 when we started really noticing some solid patterns. We were like, all right, small things around the house are going missing. Where's her cell phone? Where's her laptop? why does she get paid? And then 2 days later, she's asking for money again. A lot of things didn't really start lining up. And then it was maybe after she had turned 20 where she got busted for the first time with needles and heroin on her in the house.
And that's when that's when you actually found out that she was addicted to heroin?
That was when we found out that she was doing a lot more than just this typical early 20s, let's take a pill and drink vodka and go to the club and do this and do that. It became more obvious that it was no longer just, oh, she's going through her early 20s party stage. It was, oh shit, she's an addict.
How long ago was that?
About 5.5 years ago.
And during that time, I assume your parents were, very concerned. And did you guys work to try and get her any help, any medical help, any psychological help?
Absolutely. We did find out later on through therapy and through the group sessions at her halfway house and at the detox facility that she does have an addictive personality. It didn't matter whether it was going to be heroin or it was going to be something else. It didn't really matter what it was. It was just going to be something. She just happened to pick the worst one. And we did everything in our power to get her the help that we could. But, ultimately, we feel like it was more or less because she didn't want to quit is the reason why she didn't quit. She wanted to keep getting that high. She wanted to keep feeling that people were interested in her because her dealers would constantly contact her. Be like, hey, what's going on? You need, and she just liked the attention, I believe. Do I believe that's all of what it was? No, but that's that the easiest explanation? Yes.
So you think she got addicted initially because she wanted attention, or she was trying to escape her emotional pain?
Emotional pain, absolutely, without a doubt. I feel like Maddie had undiagnosed body dysmorphia. She always compared herself to, like the skinnier girls, the girls that, are deemed more desirable, because my sister was never a skinny girl. Like the lightest she ever was, even at the peak of her addiction when she was more focused on, getting high, was I think maybe 170 pounds. But because she saw that she had a tummy and, like cellulite around her thighs and shit like that, she was like, no guy will want me because I'm fat and I'm gross. So she was like, these guys want to keep talking to me. These guys want to keep hitting me up. These guys keep telling me I'm beautiful. These guys want to keep spending time with me, but only when I'm on heroin.
So that was basically how she got addicted, was trying to get attention from other people. And she figured that was the only way to do it.
Yes and no. She started dating this dude, and he was 13 years older than her. And we didn't know at the time that he had a pretty bad rap. We didn't know that, he was a convicted sex offender, that he was, he had previously gotten, a pretty decent rap sheet, with drug charges and weapons charges and stuff like that. And at the time when they met, my sister was just smoking weed, occasionally smoking a cigarette. But she met this dude, and this is when I was going to the hospital a lot. And I noticed some of my painkillers around the house started disappearing. I'm like, well, what the fuck is going on? Like, I need these. I just had surgery. Where are these things going? And then, my sister was like, oh, I'm taking them for my boyfriend. I'm like, why the hell are you stealing my shit? That's mine. I need that. She said, well, he has a pill addiction, and I just don't want him to be hurting all the time. I don't want him to go through that dope sickness. And I'm like, I don't give a shit. That's mine. And then it was only a matter of time before he was like, hey, Maddie, you want to crush one of these up, do a line? And my sister initially was like, no, I'm not into that. But peer pressure and just him being like, well, come on, I'm an addict. I want to be with a girl that can get high with me. And it all led downhill from there. And that's how I feel she got on her addiction, was that one dude who was like, you should try it. And she loved it. And it just got progressively worse from there.
So you believe it was pressure from her boyfriend that started it?
Absolutely.
And you noticed that she was, she was stealing from the family and buying heroin, buying drugs.
Yeah, it started out as small things, like this little things that would go missing around the house that we didn't really think much of. Like an old cell phone case that like maybe $2, but whatever. It's lost, whatever. But then, other things started going missing. Like, Maddie, where's your phone? I have no idea. Maddie, where's your laptop? I have no clue. Then, it started getting progressively worse. She stole one of my ex-girlfriend's laptops. She pawned two of my family's rings. One of them was my dad's wedding ring that he'll never be able to get back. And the other one was a ring that my great-grandmother smuggled out of the Ukraine in the 1930s to avoid German occupation.
And she hawked both of them?
Yeah, she hawked both of them, but we were able to get the one from the Ukraine back.
Did it cost you any money?
It cost my mom $255.
Okay, so later on in your relationship with Maddie, did it deteriorate as she remained addicted?
I did my best to try to keep up with her. However, I was always wary of when she would ask me for favors. Because I would never loan her money. And I told her that. I'm like, Maddie, if you need to borrow money, like for shopping or anything, I will make the drive to Eustis, where she was staying in her halfway house. I will make the drive and I will take you shopping. I will not give you money. I will never send you money. I will never give you cash. Because, even though I know you're in this halfway house, even though I know you're doing well, I can't trust that you won't go buy heroin with it. I wanted to give my sister the benefit of the doubt, but at the same time, it was like, I don't want to be the one responsible for her buying the bag that kills her.
Was she ever in rehab?
8, 9 times over a span of 7 years. When we first found out she was starting to get into the heavier drugs, about 7 or 8 times, 8, 9 times, something like that. And she always completed it, but she always just fell back on her habit because she just wanted to get high.
So did she ever clean up for any extended period of time?
To the best of our knowledge, the longest time she was sober was 8 months. And that 8 months led to us finding out how she passed away.
How was that?
To the best of our knowledge, she was completely clean for 8 months, and then we got the call from the Lake County Police Department saying that they found her.
Where was she?
She was in her room in a house that she was renting. Or a bedroom that she was renting, my bad.
She was renting a bedroom from somebody in Lake County?
Yeah.
And she had overdosed?
Yes.
So tell us about your experience with that.
All right, well, I had just gone through a lot of personal stuff, and my mom had asked me to go to church with her that morning, so I'm like, that's fine, I'll go to church with you. And it was about 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'm just sitting in my bedroom, just watching videos on YouTube. My brother's playing video games. My dad's in the kitchen. Mom's sitting in the living room. And all of a sudden, I just hear this scream. And I will never forget this. I hear this at night. My mom just started screaming and bawling. And I initially thought, oh, well, she's probably watching something that's making her laugh. My mom laughs really loud, so she's probably just laughing. And then I was like, it's still going on. It can't be that damn funny. I better go see what's up. And I walk out of my bedroom, and I look to my left, and there's my dad in the kitchen. And my dad's crying. I had never seen my dad cry, but one time. And I was like, oh, this is real. Something just fucking happened. And I looked at my dad, and I'm like, Dad, what the fuck? What happened? He just looks me dead in my face, and he says, she's dead. He didn't even have to tell me who it was. I knew immediately who he was talking about. And I couldn't really say anything. I just was like, no, I don't believe it. I was in such a state of just denial. I was like, there's no way, she's clean. How the hell is she dead? So I went and I told my brother, who was playing video games, and he just instantly just headset off, controller down, Xbox off, and just looked me in my face, eyes already glassy, like, Grant, don't fuck with me. I'm not fucking with you. Mom's on the phone with Lake County right now. They found her. So they needed us to go out and identify the body. We made the drive out to Lake County. I don't remember the exact town in Lake County that she lived in, but it was in Lake County, Florida. And we get out there, everyone's outside. The coroner's van is already pulled up, backed up to the front door. And we're all shaking. None of us have any color in our skin. Our eyes are sunken, glassy eyes the whole way. Almost an hour drive, no one said a word. Like, no one was on their phones, no one was listening to music. We just sat in silence for an hour car drive. And the coroner finally came out and they're like, "Are you the family?" And we're like, "Yeah, we're the family." And they're like, "All right, we need you to come in, identify the body. This is going to be hard, but please, we just need you to do this." And we're like, "All right." So we walk in, they've got her on the gurney, they wheel her out, and the body bag is zipped up. And they're like, "All right, this is going to be the hardest part. Are you guys ready?" And we're like, "Let's do this." They unzipped the body bag, they folded it over, and there she was. She had already been dead for quite some time because her lips had already started to turn blue. Her body had already started to swell up a little bit, and she was already rigid and cold. And my dad and I, we just kind of stood back. We couldn't even believe what we were seeing. It's like I had never known a life without my sister, and my dad was his first child and only daughter, so it was just unbelievable for him. He just couldn't believe it. And mom and my brother mom actually was able to touch her, as was my brother. My dad and I couldn't do it. And mom, she's got her hands on either side of her head, stroking her hair, kissing her, telling her how much she loves her. And my brother's just holding her hand and telling her how much he loves her and how much she misses her. And my dad and I just couldn't say anything. We were just so shocked that here she was. She still had foam coming out of her nose, and her mouth was bleeding a little bit. But I don't know what the bleeding was from, but it was. And she was wearing her Motley Crue shirt. It was her favorite shirt. And mom actually gave her a lot of shit for that shirt because it had a pentagram on it, and mom hated it. But the coroners, they were like, "Is this her?" And we're like, "Yeah, that's her." And after that, we all went outside, and I started chain smoking. I didn't even have cigarettes on me. I just had my vape, and I probably drained a tank in about 30 minutes. I was just steady smoking, just absolutely in shock that this was happening. And then they were like, "All right, we gotta take her out. We gotta go." I'm like, "Okay." And we got to say goodbye one last time as they were loading her in. They were like, "Do you guys have anything to say before we zip her back up and put her in the van?" We just stood over her, told her how much we loved her, and then they zipped her up, put her in the van, and they took off.
What happened after?
After that, we got back in the car, and we drove to Orlando to my dad's parents' house to tell them what had happened. And on the way there, we're making phone calls to everyone who will listen. My mom's parents, they were up in North Carolina, I believe, and mom called and like, "Hey, we have some really bad news. We just had to identify Maddie's body. She's dead." And we went over to my dad's parents' house, told them. I called up my buddies. My brother called up his buddies, and we're like, we got to let people know because don't post anything on Facebook, don't put anything on Instagram, don't do anything because we want to be the ones that say, "Maddie, we're so sorry. We wish we could have helped more." But we wanted to be the ones to post everything on Facebook. We just wanted other people to know that we could immediately contact.
And your family, your mom and dad were taking it pretty hard.
Yeah. Dad, I didn't hear my dad talk for 3 days. And we just buried ourselves at work. Mom was driving to and from work every day. Dad was driving to and from work every day. I was driving to and from work every day. So we more or less just buried ourselves in our work until the final service that we had the following Saturday.
And after the service and, everything that had happened, it took a lot of time for you to process it. How's your family doing right now?
The family's doing really well. My brother, despite his autism, was fine. Was able to get a job. He doesn't have that job anymore, but he was able to get a job. My mom had a gastric bypass surgery, and she's lost a lot of weight, and she's very happy with with what's happened with her. My dad's currently at his job. He's actually about to take a test to legally be able to test people to get their CDLs. And I've been buried in work for the most part, and I got a memorial tattoo for Maddie. My mom's about to get one, and my brother wants to get one too. But as far as the processing is concerned, we're still really upset. We still miss her more and more every day, but we're moving along as if she was still here rooting for us.
All right, you said you had a memorial tattoo. Can we see it?
Yeah, of course.
This camera right here?
Of course. It's the seahorse right here. It has her date of birth, the date she died, and the story behind this is my sister had the guy that got her into heroin or into the pills had his name tattooed right here on her, and she covered it up with a seahorse. So one of my ex-girlfriends convinced me to get a matching tattoo with her, and shortly after we broke up, I was like, I know exactly what I need to do. I need to get the cover-up tattoo with my ex as a seahorse, just like my sister did.
Okay, and how else do you memorialize her today?
Well, I sleep in her room, the room that she grew up in as a child, and I typically just do my best to leave it alone. Like I haven't repainted it. I haven't, as far as moving the furniture around, I still use her dresser. And I do my best to make sure that, whenever people ask about her, to tell them that, despite her addiction, when she wasn't on her shit, she was a phenomenal person. A little bit of a bitch, but she was a phenomenal person.
Okay, so at this point, what I want you to do is I want you to just say some personal words, and also a message to anybody out there who might be addicted or who has a family member or a friend who's addicted. I need you to speak about all of that kind of stuff, and I'm just going to leave you alone, let you say what you got to say, okay?
Right. So if I'm going to address anything first, I got to address Maddie, my sister. Maddie, I love you so much. I miss you more and more every day. And, your birthday's coming up. And it hurts when your birthday comes around. Your first birthday without you was so terrible. And I love you and I miss you so much. And to anyone who knows someone with addiction or is struggling with addiction, there are resources out there to help you. And I really hope that you'll do what you need to do to make yourself better, because you're better without it. You don't need it. And, you need to get the help that you need. And if you need someone to contact, I'll always be there to help you should you need it, because I don't want your family to go through what my family did.
Do you have anything else to say? Anything you want to just rant about?
Not necessarily, no. I mean, just if you attend your meetings, I feel like if Maddie had attended more of her meetings, she probably would still be alive. But, she never really went to her meetings. Even if you can only do one meeting every couple of weeks, it's better than not going at all.
What about your mom? How's she doing?
Mom's doing okay. Mom, she's really happy with what she's doing. she misses Maddie more and more every day, but she knows that Maddie would be happy with what mom has done in the last year and a half since she's passed away. As far as dad is concerned, Maddie, she always was a daddy's girl. Seeing dad's truck running, Maddie never got to see dad's truck once it was finished. And I know if she got to see dad's truck now, she'd be super happy, super excited for dad. And as far as my little brother is concerned, I'm sure Maddie would have been super proud that he was able to get a job. And that, he's, despite his issues socially, that he's doing his best to try to make himself better.
And how are you doing? What are you up to these days?
Mainly just working on myself, working on my music, doing my best to try to, make myself the person that Maddie probably needed me to be while she was at the peak of her addiction.
Thank you, Grant. Thank you. We really appreciate you coming in today and talking to us about your sister and your family. That was a very moving story. I want to thank you very much, and would welcome you back to talk about a couple of other things that you discussed earlier. On that, we're going to go ahead and head out. Thank you very much for watching.